Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Well, good evening. First to some breaking news. A helicopter has crashed into a paddock near LAUNCESTON while fighting a bushfire. We're awaiting confirmation on the condition of the pilot, who was the single occupant of the chopper. As we go to air, authorities are about to hold a media conference, and we'll take you live to our reporter on the ground as soon as we have more details. We'll look at other local news now, and business groups have called on the state government to scrap QR code check-ins at low-risk settings, branding them unnecessary and obsolete. The Premier hinted the restrictions could be wound back in days as COVID infections trend better than expected.
Long heralded as the golden standard for tracing COVID, the last 2 months have given the Check-in Tas app its own reality check.
It's just a piece of red tape that's completely unnecessary now in our entire community.
A surge in case numbers making it nearly impossible for health teams to track the explosion of exposure sites, prompting the question, is it still relevant?
Most probably it's losing its significance with the drop-off.
I'm still doing it.
I use it sometimes. I don't see the point, really.
Public Health is weighing up whether to scrap mandatory check-ins at shops, venues and events.
Will obviously still be kept in place, I would think, for some higher risk settings.
Businesses want them gone. Steve's Liquor in Launceston believes they've become obsolete and create headaches for customers forced to use the pen and paper check-in.
It is a little time consuming for them and can halt proceedings coming into the store and obviously bank up primary doorways.
A decision on the Check-in Tas app is expected later this week. As for masks, the Premier expects their future will be considered in the coming months. The winding back of restrictions hinging largely on daily COVID numbers. Today, Tasmania recorded 408 infections.
We're in a much better position than any of the previous modelling demonstrated we would be.
The last time we tipped 1,000 cases a day was almost a month ago. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Police are warning anyone who is helping escape prisoner Dale Howlett remain hidden will be caught and face consequences. The search enters its 4th day and concerns for his welfare have been raised. He fled in the midst of receiving medical treatment at the Royal Hobart Hospital. There's still been no sighting of Howlett in the past 24 hours, and anyone who sees him or knows his whereabouts is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. And Super Bowl fever hit Tasmania, with locals filling pubs showing the game. Beer and wings went hand in hand with the spectacle. Fans of the American game consider it to be their version of the AFL Grand Final.
It's good this year because there's two teams you wouldn't expect to be in it. You know, that's the thing. It's just like all the usual guys get bowed out.
Gridiron Tasmania is looking into stunning women's and junior leagues in the state, as has long-held plans to join the sport's national competition. International drinks giant is switching from its Polish imports to Tasmanian raspberries to create its popular fruit products. Asahi Beverages is sourcing from a family-owned business, promising a boost to the local farm.
Stripping these fruit trees from above and the ground, as WESTERWAY Raspberry Farm scores a sweet deal.
This is fantastic. So Asahi's agreed to buy 50,000 kilos of our raspberries that are grown here on our farm. It's a great development for our farm and our industry.
The bright berries set for Cotty's Cordial, Spring Valley Fruit Juice and Pop Tops, as well as Tasmania's Mercury Cider, off to be pressed and processed at Cascade Brewery, also owned by Asahi.
Tasmanian quality can't be beaten. Processing it throughout the plant, the teams have been tasting it, and we are very excited for the consumers to taste this fresh variety.
They are rich in flavours, anthocyanins, colour. So the quality of the product that's made from our Tasmanian grown heritage variety raspberries is certainly a better quality product at the end.
The 40-hectare family-owned farm has grown berries for 30 years, producing around 300,000 kilograms of fruit every year, with hopes to expand further.
50 tonnes is a very good section of our crop, and hopefully we'll start growing some more berries as a result of this.
WESTERWAY Raspberry Farm here is the largest processing berry grower in Tasmania, with its owners saying this new partnership will support the wider community.
We work with other farms as well to source fruit that isn't supermarket grade, but also we employ a lot of local people, both full-time and seasonal, and so it's going to have a great flow-on effect.
Products containing Tasmanian raspberries will start hitting the shelves later this year. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania has snatched top-flight soccer thanks to Western Australia's self-isolation. The stranded Perth Glory is bringing its A-League clashes to Launceston after the state's successful run hosting recent games.
20 years after Perth Glory first brought top-flight soccer to Tasmania, the club is making a glorious return.
It's a great way to showcase our game.
3 men's and 1 women's game will be played at UTAS Stadium, the first this Sunday against Brisbane Roar. $350,000 in state government cash is tied to the deal, which beat rival offers from the mainland.
We're hopeful that Perth Glory will be able to base themselves in terms of their training at one of our local clubs.
Last year's smooth run of Western United matches helped convince Perth to head south. Despite multiple Tasmanian bids to join the A-League falling over, Perth Glory says it's time for change.
The A-League needs to expand. You know, we're currently at 12 teams. We'd like to get to 14 or maybe 16.
Despite rave reviews of UTAS Stadium's playing surface, Perth Glory says a purpose-built rectangular stadium would eventually be needed if Tasmania is to have its own A-League team.
It's the gap in our pathway, there's no doubt about that. We've got 14 and 15-year-old girls needing to go to the mainland to pursue their football.
Perth's men's side will also host Macarthur FC and Western United, while the women's team plays Sydney FC. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, the battle to contain an out-of-control bushfire has taken a horror turn with a helicopter crashing, killing the pilot. Our reporter, Garth Burley, is live in Labrina. Garth, a very tragic incident.
It certainly is, Kim, and investigators are on the scene in Pipers Brook Road just trying to understand how this crash occurred. It's believed the water-bombing helicopter was helping battle the bushfires when it plunged into a paddock. The pilot and only occupant sadly died at the scene. Here's a bit of what police and the TFS had to say just moments ago.
It was undertaking activities in relation to the fire in the area, and at this time investigation is being undertaken by the Australian Transport and Safety Bureau.
The TFS says this incident will no doubt be distressing to a lot of those crews who have worked on the ground here in Labrina very closely with that pilot for the last 5 days. The remaining challenge for those crews is they have an active bushfire still on their hands they need to try to put out over the coming days. Kim?
Well, a 4-lane road duplication headlines a new state government vision for the West Tamar Highway. The 20-year corridor plan has been developed in response to increased traffic expected with continual growth in the Lagana area. It's part of a $100 million commitment to upgrade the West and East Tamar highways. The project will be funded by the state and federal governments. The growing issue of elder abuse across the country was front and centre at a national conference in Hobart today. A number of speakers were invited to open up the conversation, with stories from victims also being shared. The Walk the Talk event is the 7th of its kind and is designed to drive policy change within the sector.
If you want to think about it, 1 in 6, that's 15% of all older Australians are likely to experience abuse in any 1 year. So the time for, thinking this is a peripheral issue, a small issue, has gone.
Because the population is ageing so fast, we can't wait around to catch up in normal time. So government's going to have to give this much higher priority than it has.
This year's discussion was of particular importance following the recent release of the Royal Commission into Aged Care, highlighting the urgent need to take action. Tasmanian businesses are cashing in on love this Valentine's Day after the losses incurred during a COVID-impacted few weeks of trade. Lines sprawled out of florists as restaurants booked out for a night of romance.
A last-minute dash to secure a popular token of love saw flower sales blooming once again for Valentine's Day.
We've been quite happily surprised that it's been such a good day today. So a nice steady stream of people coming in. Lots of last-minute guys coming in. but it's been fantastic.
Lines sprawled out of florists to secure the perfect bouquet as many steered away from the traditional options.
A lot of people are starting to steer away from the classics like the roses and going for the other beautiful flowers, which there are so many of, so sunflowers and lilies.
Celebrations fell on a public holiday for southern Tasmania.
It's interesting that Valentine's on a public holiday, and it's also interesting that lots of florists have chosen to open, which is fantastic.
Hobart's hospitality sector also flung open the doors, a move that paid off for GRINNERS dive bar with a night full of bookings.
Public holidays normally are pretty busy because a lot of places do end up closing. We do Margarita Monday here, so that they're always pretty busy as is, and there's no better way to say I love you than with a margarita, in my opinion.
Florists and restaurants are said to be the main Tasmanian businesses that will benefit from the Day of Love, with the Australian Retailers Association anticipating a $415 million spend across the country.
For business in general, any excuse to spend money is a fantastic excuse. It doesn't matter whether it's Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, Black Friday.
But if you were without a Valentine, Tasmania's Library Lovers Day had you covered.
You can always find a book, and you can always have that relationship with a book, even if you don't have a relationship anywhere else.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Riley Meredith has plummeted in value in the Indian Premier League's player auction. The Hobart Hurricane was sold to the Mumbai Indians for $186,000, still a tidy sum, but it's far less than the near $1.5 million he went for last year. That money went to Tim David, who cashed in $1.53 million.
On to number 19. Thank you for the applause. Big figure. Congratulations.
Matthew Wade went to the Titans for more than $400,000. Nathan Ellis was picked up by Punjab for $140,000. But the big surprise was Ben McDermott, the Big Bash leading run scorer, was passed up by every team. The North West Coast's Taron Armstrong continues to pull out the party tricks in college basketball. He turned 1 point into 2. After missing a free throw, he collected the ball and landed the layup.
The putback is good. Are you serious? You gotta be kidding me. Gets the miss, the reverse, and the foul. Oh, this is fun.
Armstrong's team, California Baptist University, won by 8. Around 550 riders from across the country are hitting Tasmania's trails this week to compete in the Oz Cycling Mountain Bike National Championships. Held at Maydena, the mountain bikers are practising today and tomorrow at the park, preparing to race in various skill and age categories from Wednesday.
The event has cross-country, downhill and pump track racing with some other social events and kids races and things like that. Over the course of Wednesday to Sunday is when the racing kicks off.
The event is held at a different course in Australia every year.
Good evening everyone. Launceston reaching 29 degrees today, Burnie 25, 24 in Devonport and Hobart 19. Across the state, Flinders Island and Smithton 27, King Island, Low Head and Strawn 24, 23 in St Helens and Lyowini and 19 in Grove. Thick low-level cloud can be seen about the east coast and the southeast today, with patchy middle-level cloud moving over the state. Further out, low-level cloud sits over the Bight and Tasman Sea, with a band of middle-level cloud over southern Western Australia. More isolated convective cloud developed over most of the north during the day. Tomorrow, a high can be seen extending a ridge to the south of Tasmania, with a trough in the northeast extending well north into northern Western Australia. A high in the Tasman Sea extends a ridge over New South Wales and Queensland. Southwest to southeasterly winds tomorrow 5 to 15 knots, reaching 20 knots about the west, northwest and northeast. Morning drizzle and 22 in Hobart and Adventure Bay tomorrow, Tarraleah 24. 30 degrees in Launceston, sunny and 24 in Devonport and Bridport. Partly cloudy and 22 in Burnie tomorrow, Strawn and Marrawar both sunny and 23. And in the east, 22 in St Helens, showers and 21 in Swansea and Whitemark 26. And the UV tomorrow is very high 10s across the state with sunrise at 6:33 a.m. Looking on to Wednesday, light showers about the north increasing and extending to the west. Showers about the northeast, west and far south on Thursday. And on Friday, showers about the west, south and central areas. 27 in Perth tomorrow, partly cloudy in Melbourne and Adelaide, Canberra 31, a shower or two in Brisbane and Cairns, and 38 degrees in Alice Springs. And currently Hobart 18 degrees and mostly cloudy, 26 in Launceston and mostly sunny there, and partly cloudy, and 22 in Devonport. And that's all in weather tonight, Kim.